Actors, we've all got issues, so let's talk about them. I'm your host, Juan Ayala, and this is Actors with Issues. Welcome to Actors with Issues.
Thank you for having me.
The name always gets a giggle out of people.
Yeah.
Can't imagine why. But diving right in, if so, I love starting with this question for you in particular. If you got to leap into someone from your past to give young Raymond some kind of advice, who would it be? Who would young Raymond have listened to and really taken their advice to heart?
Wow. Wow. It would probably be my high school volleyball coach, and it would be to tell me to quit and to go back to baseball because you're going to stop growing. All of my friends in high school, they joined volleyball, and I played baseball all throughout growing up, and they kept growing and they were tall, and like it's not the right sport to be shortened. So I wish I could have stuck with baseball. Um, I could give you a sadder answer, but I'm going to go with that one.
And looking back at this last, 2 seasons, 2 years, pretty much of being on Quantum Leap, what have you learned? How have you changed as an actor and as a person comparing day one on the pilot to today with season two now wrapped up?
Oh man, I've learned so much. But I think mostly it's how to maintain energy and how to save your energy, and that's physical energy and also emotional energy. You have to know that you only have a limited supply every single day, and you have to know how to use that properly in order for you to be effective all throughout the day. Because what's most demanding that I've realized out of working on a network show is the schedule.
Mm.
Is you're there all day, every single day, and it just kind of can't stop because the episodes have to keep airing. I think if we were working on a streamer, we can be like, okay, well, somebody got sick, let's take a couple days off, come back to it, and then we'll just have a release date sometime in the fall. No, this is your 3 episodes ahead, so if you slow down now, you're actually not going to have enough episode to air on that certain day. So to stay healthy, to know how to eat certain foods. And I actually learned a lot of this by, not to name drop, but watching Tom Cruise operate on Maverick, because I was seeing when strategically when he was choosing to eat and what he was choosing to eat. And I saw the amount of energy that it took for him to be at the center of that. And I thought, oh wow, that's so important. And how to keep yourself in that sort of shape is probably the biggest thing I learned. And it's something that has carried over just into my daily regimen. But yeah,
I mean, is there a better person to learn that type of thing from? Like,
I don't
like,
think so. I think he's it.
and with the season finale right around the corner, obviously without getting into spoilers, what can you tease fans with? What can they expect for these last couple episodes?
Oh man, I wish I could tease something, but I just want to have the respect to our fans, and I want to, for those who have been watching since day one, to really not leave anything for them to even assume, because I'm really proud of the work that we did, and I really. And I'm not just saying that so people can watch it, but I think we really these last 5 episodes have been some of the best work that I know that I've ever been capable of doing, and I know our writers really left nothing for the swim back either too. So um, I don't want to tease anything really. It's
Hmm. Just
just
buckle
to
up.
watch and absorb, and yeah, and just experience it.
Yeah. And with the name of our show being Actors with Issues, we often touch on things like mental health, career obstacles, and whatnot. Just sort of sharing advice for our fan base of young actors, young artists. So, if you could go and give yourself some advice to young Raymond um, about his career or about anything like that, industry misconceptions, anything like that, what would you say?
Is to make thoughtful choices. It's not important to feel busy or to stay busy just to feel busy. It's a long career. If you really care about it, it's a long career. I look at Ernie, and Ernie's about to turn 80. He's okay with us knowing that information. Uh, I've lived half of his life, and I still have another half to go to get to where he's at. And I look at the career that I can build even from now, even if it wasn't the 20 years that came before it. So I know very early on, I was just like, I just want to work. I just need credits. I just want to work. It doesn't matter what I do. And I'm really grateful for all of that. I don't take any of it back because it's all experience, but I wish I didn't find myself, I wish I wasn't so worried about feeling busy. And it's okay to travel and to absorb culture and to take time to read and to learn about history. It's okay to do all that because it'll all feed back into this art form.
Yeah.
One of the greatest advices I ever got was from an actress named Sai Chin. We worked on an independent film when it was one of my very first jobs. We were taking pictures on the press line, and it was a group picture. And I was like kind of crouched in front of her, and she taps me on the shoulder. We didn't have any scenes together. She taps me on the shoulder, and she's like, "Hey, what's your name?" And I'm like, "I'm Raymond. I'm in the movie with you." She's like, "Yeah, yeah, I know, yeah, but like, okay, so like, what do you care about?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I care that this movie does well." She's like, "Do you read?" And I'm like, "Not enough." She's like, "Do you travel?" I was like, "Not really." She's like, "Read, travel. Okay, it'll make you interesting."
Mm.
And that was that. And I was like, oh, like she knew that I wasn't interested in the stuff that really mattered. So in order for us to become interesting, we have to be interested, right? So I that's what I would tell my early self, is to not be so worried about all of that and to focus on some more interesting things.
And before we wrap up, we have some fan submitted questions for a section of our show we call Dear Raymond. Some of these Reddit names are so funny. Uh, Kelsey832 says, "What is your favorite time travel movie?"
Oh, it's got to be Back to the Future. It's it's got everything, and it also has the unlikely hero. You know,
Yeah.
it's the guy that who's not muscle bound, who kind of has to get by on this with his immediate seat of his pants wits, and I love that.
Rael Gakari asks if who would be your dream person from history and story to leap into?
Wow. Um, there is a person by the name of Susan Ann Cuddy, who was the very first military door gunner, very first Korean American female in the U.S. military, and she was a badass, and her entire family is a badass. Her brother ended up becoming one of the very first Korean American actors in history. So there, it's a really she's a very interesting figure
Yeah.
that's not
Season
talked
three.
about enough.
Gotta pitch it.
Yeah.
Tang Cameo asks if you got to revisit a story or character from the original series, who would it be?
Um, I went back. This is not a very good Quantum Leap fan answer, but I went back and I started watching the series again, but I had to stop watching it because it actually was doing me a disservice for this.
Mm.
So from what I've watched, I would want to go back to the lady stepping out of the car wearing the heels in the very first scene of the very first episode, just because I want to see what it feels like to get out of that car on that highway. But yeah.
And this is one of those names. Zoro's mama asks, I heard that Hannah's story gets wrapped up this season. How can we stop this? I don't normally get this invested in character pairings, but Ben and Hannah's relationship is incredible. I'm curious, what's it like hearing that type of response from fans that they're so invested in these characters and in these stories? Like what do you take away from that?
It really warms me because it tells us that we're doing our job, and that when you're doing it, you can only hope to really uh, get this sort of. We're investing so much into it. I'm there with Eliza, and we care so much about these scenes. All the writers are there, making sure that their words are being. The directors, the producers are there. Everybody's making sure that this is the most important scene of the day at this moment, and then the next scene is the most important scene of the day, and nobody's taking any moments off. And when it's reciprocated by a fan, to know that they're absorbing it in the way that we intended for them to, or even if it's not intended in that way, just to know that like the fruits of our labor is it's not for nothing. So it's affirming and warming, and I can't tell Zoro's mama about what's going to happen because I also just want Zoro's mama to see what happens. But yeah,
Awesome. Well, Raymond, that is our time. Thank you so much for coming on the show and chatting with us today. And I mean, huge congrats on the show. We actually had we chatted with Mason back during season one, and it's just been so cool to see the characters who normally aren't the hologram sort of like taking time and everyone sort of getting to swap in and out and
Yeah.
sort of explore these different dynamics with it. It's been so cool. But yeah, congrats on the show and thank you again.
Thank you. And those are my favorite moments when we get to sprinkle different, dynamics with different holograms. It's my favorite stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, thanks for your time. Hope
Awesome.
I
Thank
got
you.
to spread enough issues with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to subscribe to Actors with Issues on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and visit our YouTube channel for full video interviews. Actors with Issues is executive produced and hosted by Hawani Allah. See you next time.